Take us through center. What do you see there, and how optimistic are you that you have an answer there?
Eric Gallo is going to be a really good center. He's a tough kid. He does everything we ask. He knows the calls, and he really, really works at it. And I'm impressed with him. Need to get Kyle Chung back healthy. I think he'll be a factor there. And then we got some young kids that we're working in to see if they can develop. Got to snap the ball first, though.
Is Gallo, when you say you sound like optimistic about him, optimistic for this coming season, or is it a little early for him? Or?
For this coming season, I think Eric Gallo. When we had meetings in the off season, this kid's studying hard. He's taking notes. He's got cheat sheets where he's got those cards, flip cards, where he can have the right answer. So he's trying to do what's right.
He played something like 14 snaps last year.
Yes.
Does that benefit him more than having gone through a redshirt year where you're just kind of separated from actually?
To be honest, I'd love for him to play more. And, a lot of situations it didn't dictate that I could play more. But if you're going to play a kid, you'd like to play more than that.
What have you seen from Darius Redmond so far at tackle?
He's got good feet. He's quick, and he's got to learn what to do.
Wade, I think, is up at 300 pounds. Has he done a lot this offseason to put him in a better position?
There's probably nobody on this team who's got a better attitude than Wade Hansen as far as trying to work hard and do what we want to do. He's really trying to get better at his technique, and gaining the weight gives him the opportunity to really compete in there like the offensive line should.
I know. Was that kind of a tough spot he was thrown into last year?
Yeah, he didn't even go through fall camp, I don't think. I think it was probably late August before we moved him over. But the kid, just his attitude and his work ethic, if a kid will do that, he'll end up playing. And it's a shame it happened so late. But when, John McLaughlin got hurt, he stepped in and did a good job for us.
Where's Colt Pettit working? Is he still working in at center? Or?
Colt's working at center and guard. And, that's where we got him working.
Is he not as far along in terms of being a center? What do you?
Those young kids they need to improve, and they just got to keep working. We see a lot of stuff with our defense. They do a great job on defense here, and Colt's got to adjust to the speed of the game and got to compete.
With McLaughlin coming back, what made you decide to put him back on the left side this year?
He had played there before. He's probably better suited at right tackle, but he's the most experienced guy that we've got because we don't have any depth, really for that position.
When you think about Austin Smith, where does he?
Austin, he's fought through some injuries, so he's been limited the first couple of practices. But I'm anxious to see what he does. But he'll add depth inside at guard primarily.
Teller came on strong at the end of last year. Where do you really challenge him to get better this spring?
To be consistent every day. When adversity hits, to not let it affect him in a negative way. To be a positive leader and affect other people on the team. That kid played harder than anybody we had. If he does that all the time in practice and in games, he'll affect other guys beside him and will be better offensive line.
I know Connie was sometimes a guard, sometimes a tackle this year. Do you like him specifically at guard, or could he?
I think he's better suited to play inside at guard, but in a pinch, we may have to throw him out there at tackle.
You had some veteran guys on the line last year. Leadership-wise, what do you see from this group? Are there guys that have that leadership capability? Or
I think as a whole group, they're totally bought into what we want to do. I think Wade's the only senior we got, but Wade's trying to lead. John McLaughlin's vocal. White is led by example. Augie's a vocal guy at times, and Eric Gallo is the most. I ain't gonna say the most consistent worker, but he is. He's really worked consistent this spring so far. And so I think that's a good group. You just got to, to have that continuity and those guys playing together, trusting each other. And when one guy's down a little bit, the other guys pick him up is very important.
Does it change what you do? Sorry. Does it change what you do coaching them because you don't have, per se, that central leader that kind of runs the room? Does it change your approach?
I think if all five guys are totally bought in all the time, it makes life a little easier. And to have a one leader, offensive line, it's a bond of brothers that everybody's got to be moving with the same heartbeat at all times. And I think this group is wanting to do that. We're not there yet, but they're wanting to do that.
How different is it for you this year? Last year, you were just getting introduced to everybody at this time.
Terminology is a lot easier. Football's football, but learning a new language can be difficult at times. It's got to be natural. It's got to flow out of your mouth where those kids hear what the coordinators hear, and everybody's saying the same thing and being on the same page. Second, those kids understanding the tempo we want to work at in our drills and practice, what's expected. I think it makes life a little easier the second year.
Ford and Phillips, they were so good as freshmen. What do you see from that group? What do you like about them?
I like the first five.
Ford and Phillips are the leader of the group based on just experience right now. Those guys go out and do a tremendous job in practice, just practicing hard and finishing drills and just doing everything to the best of their ability, and the rest of the group follows along and takes it from that point.
Coach Leffler was in here talking about how important it is to get some depth at that position, that he thought you guys played Isaiah too much last year. What do you see in terms of options for depth at that position?
We're working on that right now. I think guys are starting to gain some confidence. Some guys that didn't play a whole lot last year, guys that redshirted, they're starting to learn the offense and get out there and get full speed live reps. So that's what we're evaluating right now, trying to figure out who's going to be a guy that can step in and fill a role and be the next guy up.
Anybody impress you or encourage you so far? I know it's early on.
It's too early on to tell, but those guys, Jalen Bradshaw, who redshirted last year, he's a redshirt freshman, Deion Newsom, Dimitri Knowles, all those guys are coming along. Kevin Asante, who's been on the roster for a while, finally fighting over an injury. Those guys are starting to come along and get some confidence out there the more we practice.
What have you thought about Asante? Just because I know he took some time away from the team, I guess injuries. I mean, does he look like he's behind it all, or is he kind of one of the guys in the forefront right now?
He understands the offense. He's been around this program for a while under Coach Leffler's leadership. He's a big physical receiver, so he's going to be a guy who's definitely in the mix for getting some game time here.
In the offseason, Leffler said blocking was going to be a major focus this spring. Are you doing extra stuff with that? What do you kind of work with him there?
Well, we're out there 15, 20 minutes early before practice even starts, so we're working on extra drills, and we stay back as well. That's why I'm here kind of late today. We stay back post-practice, and we're working on all kinds of technique, and just blocking is an effort thing. So I'm always watching more so run game than I am pass game right now, just to make sure I emphasize that we're blocking every single play.
Dimitri Knowles has been a guy that's sort of been like kind of a one-trick pony. He's fast, and that was it. Have you seen him take another elevation in his game? Does he have more to it now?
I think he's starting to come along after practice 4 here. I think he's starting to come along. He's a guy who runs track, and that's obviously not a very physical sport. But I'm trying to get him to learn that football is, and keep coming along in that aspect of it. And if he keeps doing that, I think the sky's the limit for Dimitri.
Did you go back and review Ford and Phillips? Did you watch their game film, or how do you kind of learn about the guys you've got?
I've watched the game film prior to spring ball starting, and also when I first got hired here. I basically watched every single game front to back, so I can get my own evaluation, without being unbiased or hearing from anybody else. And I kind of gain my own opinion of those guys, and what I do is try to make sure that they are improving on their weaknesses and turn those weaknesses into strengths. That's kind of what we work on every day.
Do you feel that way, and would it be better to have a little more depth at that position?
I mean, it definitely would be a lot better to have more depth at the position, because then when you start to go against teams down the stretch, they can't really key on you, and that's when you start to see double teams. So the more receivers we can get to play, the better.
You decided not to pursue the basketball thing. What was behind that, and who kind of influenced your decision there?
It was really me. This year, I felt like I really needed to get in the weight room, and get stronger and faster. But next year, we'll see.
So you're still holding out hope? You're still holding out hope sometime down the line?
Yes, sir.
How's everyone adjusting to Coach Burden? What's the attitude like with the receivers?
We like him a lot. He's came with attitude, with a chip on his shoulder, and it kind of reminds me of myself and the rest of us receivers. We've been underrated. When you think about Virginia Tech, most people think about DBU. So we want to try to change that.
Is that strange? I mean, you commit to Moorhead, he leaves after your first year, and you have somebody brand new here coaching you.
It was very strange at first, especially before we hired anyone. So it was kind of nerve-wracking. but once he got here and I kind of got a feel for him, I really like him a lot. I think that's the best person they could have hired.
What are you at now, height, weight wise? And were you able to put on some?
I put on 8 pounds since the season, 8 pounds of muscle, and I dropped to 4% body fat, which is really good. So I want to try to put on about 8 to 10 more pounds. So.
What have Leffler and Burden told you guys about blocking in this offseason? It sounded like that was going to be a major focus this spring.
That was a big emphasis for us, especially for me. I played all last year at 173, 174. So the biggest thing for me was to get stronger, and I did that. And now you can see my blocking has improved a lot.
Did they show you clips from last year? And you're like, I can't believe that.
The first meeting we had with Coach Burden, he came in and it was a video of me and Cam basically all the missed blocks we had, and he showed us. It was like, this can't happen next year.
Was that a long video?
It was a good lens, actually. I'm not gonna lie. But me and Cam, we both players that we critic each other, so we take things like that to heart. We really are passionate about the game, so it meant something to us.
When he does that and shows the video of all your mistakes, I mean, does that sort of set the tone for what kind of a coach he's going to be?
It did. It set the standard from day one that he was going to try to get the best out of us every time we stepped on the field, and we really appreciate that.
What have you seen from Jalen Bradshaw, who's a guy that could have been doing what maybe you and Cam did? What have you seen from him so far this spring?
Jalen has a lot of talent. At times, he thinks too much, but other than just raw ability, he can play. He really can.
If I asked you to guess who else is going to be productive behind you and Cam this year at that position, who are some guys that you have confidence in?
Dimitri Knowles, he's been playing really good. C.J. Carroll, actually playing really, really well. And Jalen's well. Kelvin Sante. Really, the whole room has stepped up knowing that there is a third spot behind me and Cam that needs to be filled. So the whole room's really been practicing really hard.
How do you,
Like watching that.
It was different, you know, for him to come in and focus on kind of the negative, but, you know, we sort of understood where it was coming from, you know, kind of trying to keep us kind of grounded and not too high. Me and Isaiah's freshman years were, you know, pretty okay, but, you know, I guess he was trying to focus on the emphasis, you know, that we still need to improve. So he showed us the negative blocks, the negative pass plays, you know, where maybe our routes weren't as crisp or we didn't, you know, come back to the ball or some little stuff. So he's just trying to get us to improve on every little thing and on an everyday basis.
Is there a physical side to that? I mean, having not been in the weight training program last fall, I mean, obviously in the winter this time, is getting bigger help with blocking in that sense?
Definitely. Getting bigger does help, and also I think it improves your mindset. If you go out and you don't look as big as, you know, the defenders, then maybe you may have some doubt in your mind. But if, you know, you've been lifting weights with the guys on the team who are big, then it definitely helps with the 1-2 and kind of makes you feel like you belong out there and like you can do it.
Did you know that there were those plays out there, just mistakes and missed blocks? Or when he showed that video, were you like, holy, I didn't know I did that?
Yeah, of course, watching film during the season, you know, we go over the bad stuff. We watch the whole game, so we see those negative plays. But, you know, when he, like, compiles them all together, it's just like, that was a lot. Like, we thought we did okay, but, you know, we still have a lot of stuff that we need to improve on. But ultimately, it's going to help. I think he's done a great job, and, you know, he's turning things around for us.
What is that like transition? I mean, obviously you commit to Moorhead, he coaches you the first year, now they have a completely new guy in charge of your group at this point.
It was, I kind of want to say tough, but, you know, you come into college, you know, choosing what school you want to go to, knowing that there could be a coaching change at some point. So you try not to get too attached, but, I mean, you know, it's a business. So Coach Moorhead did what was best for his family, and Virginia Tech picked the best candidate that they thought, you know, would help take the program to a new level. So, you know, I think it's working out for the better right now.
So you kind of got thrown into the fire there at offensive line last August. Brand new to you. How much different do you feel this spring, more experienced, and actually getting to practice a position for the first time before moving over there?
I feel like with the spring, it's all about trying to understand fundamentals and technique, and this will be my first spring as an lineman, so I'm really trying with Coach Searels to develop my game to make sure that I can play at the best of my ability for his standards and this team's standard.
So you kind of being, I guess, the only senior on the offensive line this year? I mean, no, there's not much. I mean, because you're kind of new to it, do you feel like one of those underclassmen out there kind of doing stuff, or has it been different being the senior?
I still feel new to the O-line aspect, but a part of this team, I feel like a senior. I know I've only been here for, 2 years, but, I felt like with the relationships I've made in this team, there's a lot of respect, mutual respect, and it's really good. I like this team, and they view me as a leader and a senior, so I respect them for that.
You added weight. Was that one of your main focuses of the offseason, to get up to around 300 pounds? Is that something Searels stresses?
Searels likes this big offensive lineman, and I know last year I was severely underweight, just getting moved from D tackle. I worked out summer to get up to 280, and then come August, all of a sudden I'm offensive lineman, they want me at 300. So it's back-to-back trying to gain weight. But this offseason was really good for me. Our lifting program helped me exponentially with all my weights, and I was able to get up to 300 pounds when we weighed in, so it was great.
What's been kind of the focus? Has it been, you guys have been kind of going over the basics kind of thing, kind of getting back into stuff, or has there been a point of emphasis, I guess, in Searels is really
with Coach Searels, his point of emphasis is toughness. He wants you to give effort, and he wants you to be tough as nails. And I think that's something I really respect from a coaching aspect. He wants us to be toughest guys in the field and be mean, and I respect that, and I'm trying to be the toughest guy I can be for him.
Things as much as I can. Try and look at the playbook outside of the meeting rooms and try and put more hours in the meeting rooms. And one thing that I do learn well with is flashcards, so turning them over and knowing which play is which.
Did you use that in high school too? Or?
Yeah, and I use them for like academics and stuff, tests.
So was that your idea then, to do them for football, or?
Yes, sir. I thought it would have just helped me remember the plays and what to do on each one.
Has anyone else started doing that since you have?
I'm not sure.
Anybody cheat off you?
So what do you put on? You put like the play call and then flip it over and just whatever your assignment is? Or?
Yes, sir. It'd be like whatever play it is and what I have to do on that play, so that when I get out there and it's kind of hectic, that I just know it like that instead of having to think about it in my mind. I can just know it from memorization.
Were you and Brewer able to do any snap work in the off season? Did you guys get together?
Yes, sir. After our lifting in the weight room, I made an emphasis to get some snaps after each workout. And me and Mike got together, and Ford and Motley, the other quarterback, started in, and just got a feel for being under center, being in shotgun, stuff like that.
He wasn't throwing today. Do you know what's wrong with Michael right now?
I'm not sure.
Sounds good. Thanks, man.
I know you're still in your first year, but how different is the spring for you, since you kind of at least had the fall to kind of get into everything?
I'm not really thinking of myself as a freshman anymore. I feel like I'm just working in with the guys now. But I feel like being in the weight room with Coach Gentry and Coach Short and Coach Aker helped me a lot, and that there is a big difference from when I ended last year versus the first spring practice. I feel like my body's a little better shape than I was last year.
What have you thought of being, this, I know Coach Searels was talking about Chung and Pettit kind of getting some depth behind you. I mean, what have you thought of the guys behind you, how they've looked so far?
I think everybody's giving good effort in practice, and we're all just going to keep practicing hard and trying to get better each day.